Little update on the project here. We've got all the windows in, all the trim is installed, and now we're putting on siding. So I'll talk a little bit about the details of how we're doing the siding. This is fiber cement. It's James Hardie fiber cement, just the regular lap siding. It's called Cedar Mill, I think. They have a fancier product that's thicker, artisan, I think they call it, but this is just the regular. And it is 8¼ inches wide, comes in 12-foot lengths. Looked at some other options. I thought about cedar for a while, but that's very expensive and more work, so this seemed like it was probably the best option. Kind of the, considering all the pros and cons of various options, this one seemed the best. Really the only downside with this product that I would mention is it's very dusty to cut it, so you have to be careful with that. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with it. The color here is called Rich Espresso. It's a dark grayish brown. And walk over here. So there's the big stack. Been gradually making that smaller. Take a look at some of the materials that we're using to put this in. So this is what it looks like. It's painted. It comes pre-painted. You can get it primed, but I got it pre-painted. So that's one of the really nice features about this product, is once you nail it on, you're done pretty much. It's not painted on the back, but I believe it's sealed, so it's fairly waterproof. I've left pieces out in the yard for days and it doesn't seem to soak up water. It's brittle, so it will break, but it's pretty strong as far as rocks hitting it from a lawnmower and that sort of thing. You do have to be careful moving the pieces because it's pretty floppy when you're moving a 12-foot piece. So the way I'm cutting it, basically two ways I'm cutting it. For most of just the straight cuts where I don't have to cut it around obstacles, I'm using my miter saw with a special blade that's made to cut this product. The blade holds up better over time because this stuff is cement, so it would wear down a regular blade pretty fast. And it also reduces the dust some, though it's still pretty dusty. But to keep the dust down, I've got a vacuum connected to the miter saw, and I've got a filter and a bag in the vacuum. So no dust is coming out of the vac once it goes in. And then, for anything that the vacuum doesn't capture, I've got a big fan that's blowing any dust that sneaks out of the saw vacuum intake, and that just blows it away from me. So when I'm cutting this with the setup, I don't feel like I need to wear a mask because I'm not getting any dust. I'm not getting any dust up to my face. But when I cut without that setup, I use a pretty serious respirator with a P100 filter on it. So this is the cutting station for doing anything that's not just a straight cut to change the length of a piece. This is a good example. It's a template for a cut I had to do that was going around some obstruction. So for this, I'm using this cutting station with some foam insulation taped to a 2x6. So that way the piece is fully supported, and I can just set the cutting depth to be slightly deeper than the siding, and the blade will cut into the foam, and it makes it very easy to do these tricky cuts. So as far as what you have to do after you cut it, all of the edges need to be sealed. This is not waterproof, so it will soak up moisture on the cut edges. So what you do is you buy some touch-up paint that's color matched to the siding color that you're buying. And then they had this little applicator with a spongy applicator thing on it, so you just shake it and rub it on the let's see if I can open this with one hand. There we go. And it's actually kind of a mixture of a primer and a top coat. So you just rub this on the edge to seal it. So that makes it pretty easy. And if they recommend that where two pieces of siding butt up against each other where there's a joint, because the span is longer than 12 feet, so it takes more than one piece. They recommend that you don't caulk it, that you just butt the pieces up together, and then you put a piece of flashing behind the joint. And you can buy flashing that's made for that purpose. Some people use tar paper or something like that, but what I did was I bought a roll of coil stock that is color matched to the siding color, and then I just cut my own flashing. So this is just a piece of that cut to the right size, and I used this metal bender to put a little bend at the top. So when I'm putting two pieces on the wall, I can just slip this behind it, and that keeps it in the right spot. And then you butt the two pieces up together, and the water that goes through the crack goes onto the flashing and runs down onto the next piece of siding, so it doesn't get behind the siding. As far as fastening goes, I'm using stainless steel siding nails. They are rip shank, so they hold really well. I don't know if you can see that, but they've got ribs on them, so once they go in, they don't come out. And they're stainless steel, so they're not going to rust. And using 2.5 inch or 2 inch, depending on what I'm nailing into. Some of these walls, like that wall right there, that's actually an old concrete block wall, so I've got a video on how I prepped for that, but I basically put 1.5 inch furring strips screwed into the block with insulation in between them, and then the siding is actually getting nailed to the furring strips. So for that I'm using 2 inch nails. And then as far as where the siding meets the trim, you want to seal that. You leave an 1/8 inch gap and you seal it. And again, they sell color coded sealant that matches your siding color for that. A couple of other things. I'm using these gecko gauges. So these slip under the last piece of siding you installed, and there's a little ledge on there, so the next piece of siding sits on that ledge, and then that makes it very easy for one person to install these by themselves. So definitely found these very useful, and they're adjustables for the different widths of siding. So let's go take a look at the finished product over here. It's not completely finished. I haven't sealed the edges yet, but you can see the butt joints. So this is what I'm talking about. You just butt them up together, and there's a slight opening there. You don't want to caulk it, and the flashing takes care of any moisture that gets behind that. The edges will be sealed. I haven't done that yet, but the edges will be sealed. So you leave about 1/8 of an inch there, and then you put the sealant in there. So that's pretty much it. So far so good. I'm happy with the product. It's pretty easy to install, and I'm hand nailing. You can get a nailer made for siding, but I'm hand nailing, and I don't find that a big deal personally. I guess I just like hitting nails. So see y'all next time.